difficulty, which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
This is Patricia Mary, and for the next hour, I will be reading from the Saturday, Sunday, May 30th and 31st issue of Off Duty from the Wall Street Journal on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. From the front page of Off Duty, they're one of Europe's rarest wild cats. A safari can take you right to them. Lynx Experience offers wildlife packages of Extremada from around $350 per person, including accommodations, meals, and access to the private estate. For the best chance of seeing Iberian lynx in the wild, it's best to block out three days. The Iberian lynx nearly vanished from the wild. Now travelers are flocking to rural Spain for a chance to see them. And this is by Jamie Lafferty. The writer Miguel de Santos knew about the Iberian lynx. He repeatedly mentioned the wild cats in his masterpiece, Don Quixote. Lynx eyes evoked lethally. Mysterious boys are lynx that nothing escapes. Cervantes readers would have understood the reference instantly. The wild cats once prowled the Spanish countryside in abundance. 400 years after Don Quixote, the lynx has become a less relatable metaphor. A victim of government-sanctioned culling, trigger-happy farmers, and rising road traffic, by 2002, the Iberian lynx was on the verge of extinction, with just 94 cats left in their natural habitat. Now, thanks to a 2-decade conservation initiative across southern Spain and parts of Portugal, there are an estimated 2,700 Iberian lynx in the wild, making it one of the world's most miraculous comeback stories. In coordinated captive breeding programs, conservationists trap wild cats and bred them under carefully controlled conditions. Cubs were tagged before being released into the wild. Nerua El Camar Palomo, director of CBD Habitat, one of the organizations instrumental in the recovery, said that although in some areas the population still requires active management and constant monitoring, in other places the populations are self-sustaining. As the number of cats has grown, so has the burgeoning safari trade. From around $350 a day, I booked a trip with one of the ecotourism companies that have popped up in the recent years. I arranged to meet Samuel of Lynx Experience for a 3-day search in the Extremadura, a western rural region of Spain. Benitez pivoted to a career as a guide after working for several decades in lynx conservation. I'm sorry, Samuel's last name is Benitez. Each morning we'd set out to explore this corner of the country, one part of what is called the La Esperana Fonduna, or Deep Spain, for the way it has resisted urbanization. Like any safari guide, Benitez had warned there are no guarantees of sightings. As the smooth highway north of Seville stretched into the vastness of pastoral Extremadura, the chances of finding a lynx, which seems rarer than the snow leopard or the Bengal tiger, felt impossibly small. From my vantage point on a cold, wind-battered hilltop north of the white-walled city of Llerona, little moved. Rolling hills rose to become mountains. Below, the river ran smooth in the silent dawn. We had come to what Benitez described as his secret mountain, a short walk from a public wildlife viewing area at a bend in the river. Then a mischievous of magpies began a ruckus, chattering and hopping from branch to branch of a straggly tree. Benitez searched for the English word to describe the birds' behavior. They're snitches, he says, rising a stubby thermal scope to one eye. Maybe they've seen a lynx. After a moment, he passed the device to me, and ahead, at great distance, I saw three spectral outlines tumbling around on a nearby peak. I looked away from the infrared scope but could see nothing. The Iberian lynx was right there and still invisible. I think maybe it's a mother with cubs, but it's hard to tell from this far, Benitez says. Thermal imaging gave him a huge advantage for spotting the cats, but otherwise he relied on hard won experience. With tourists, he refuses to use radio trackers, the type employed by conservationists to keep tabs on the animals. Instead, he looks for scat and footprints, which were harder to spot in the winter because of the frozen ground. Later that afternoon, we tried our luck in the public viewing area. The experience was largely ruined by an unhappy toddler in a Paw Patrol chair. Compared to Extremadura, the neighboring region of Andalusia has 8 times more residents and millions more annual international tourists. So it's normal that we have more animals than them, no? Benito says. He had just picked me up from the Casa Rural de Leon, a charming inn in Lernia, my base camp 90 minutes north of Seville. We made a quick pit stop at a bakery in the village of Valencia and then continued on as a dense fog formed around us. Once we got off the main roads, Benitez often drove, scouted, and interpreted at once, sometimes steering with his elbows. We were heading to a private ranch to which my guide had paid for rare access. Hunters pay big money to enter the grounds, but they are given express instructions to focus on deer and partridge and leave the felines well alone. As we drove, Benitez told me more about his 2 decades working on lynx restoration before making the switch to tourism. He had found the work rewarding, if not lucrative, because it was ultimately successful. In 2024, the cat's conservation status was upgraded from endangered to vulnerable. During the busiest months, he guides up to 20 days a month. He explained that while felines are the biggest prize for each safari outing, guests are constantly surprised by the less heralded wildlife. I nodded, but I've been lying if I said I hadn't come for the lynx, or pretended that the distant views through the scope on day one had been entirely satisfied. From the passenger seat, I often spotted rabbits fleeing down dirt roads and scampering under bushes, many joined by red-legged partridges. Rabbits, Benitez explained while looking through binoculars from his moving truck, accounted for 90% of the lynx diet. It's the same for many of our raptors, Benitez added, pointing out that the birds of prey that were our constant companions. If we have a problem with rabbits, we have a problem for so many animals. The wind was biting, so we stopped by the wreckage of an old farm building to seek shelter. Benitez set out a charcuterie board of local meats and cheeses on the back of his truck, and I took a look through the thermal scope. Rabbits dotted the mountainside like patches of snow. When the restoration project chose locations to release lynx, rabbit abundance was the first and most important factor. If they're not here, we have nothing, Benita says. From the air, a dozen species of raptors scan the ground for the doomed and the vulnerable. My wildlife checklist grew: red kites, winged kites, common buzzards, golden eagles, Spanish imperial eagles, a goshawk, three types of owls, two kinds of vultures. As the day went on, we saw wild boar, red deer, and a single nervous fox. By the time the sun dipped on the horizon and we made our way back to Lerna, it felt like the only thing we didn't see was an Iberian lynx. Just after sunrise, we drove through more fog, our headlights only making the visibility worse. Benitez drove carefully. As lynx numbers continue to rise, traffic will once more become an issue. In recent years, local dogs posed problems too, as did the occasional irate farmer who had lost a chicken. Working with the people was the hardest part, Benita says, recalling his days in the conservation trenches. I think that's the same all over the world, no? He had heard a tip from some former client that the mournful howl of a lynx had been heard overnight near the public viewing area, so we reinstalled ourselves nearby on his secret mountain. I don't know if you were able to hear that very well, but it says listen to a lynx's call. I tucked my hands in my pocket as the cold hours ticked away. I felt a creeping desire to give in and get warm, but just as I started to work out how to say that to Benitez, he calmly told me that the lynx had finally arrived. I prepared to grab the thermoscope, but this time we didn't need it. I struggled to keep my cool as I spotted a pair of cats ahead. They picked their way along the top of a crumbling, dry stone wall like tightrope walkers. In the frosty air, with their starchy beards and extravagant ear tufts, they looked majestic. They weren't kings of the jungle exactly, but as one paused and looked straight at me, I thought it looked at least princely, and in lieu of something grander, that the old wall made for a fine throne. Planning a trip. Lynx Experience offers wildlife packages of extra murder from around $350 per person a day, including accommodation, meals, and access to the private estate. For the best chance of seeing Iberian lynx in the wild, it's best to block out 3 or 4 days. While they can be spotted year round, winter generally offers the best experience as it coincides with the breeding season and avoids the heat of Spanish summer. From around $320 per person, Wild Andalusia offers guided lynx safaris in the Sierra Morena mountain ranges in the nearby region of Andalusia. Doana Wings, another operator, focuses its operations in the Doana National Park, a coastal nature preserve and wetland 40 miles southwest from Seville, with packages starting from about $245. You're listening to reading of articles and features from Off Duty from the Wall Street Journal on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Another from the travel page. Nobody can agree how to keep the sharks out of South Africa's new Club Med. The resort is opening in July, but plans to install a net in the Indian Ocean are in limbo as scientists encourage alternate measures to ease fears. And this is by Alexandra Wexler. South Africa. Club Men's expansion into South Africa has run into a problem, and this one's got teeth. The waters off the Indian Ocean coast, where throngs of swimmers will soon congregate, are home to the world's three most dangerous shark species. The local government has proposed an old tactic to keep high-paying guests at the luxury resort from becoming chum, putting a shark net adjacent to the beach. Scientists aren't fans of the plan. They say the barriers kill local endangered species such as the Indian Ocean humpback dolphin and the leatherback turtle, and they're not that good at keeping out sharks. Many are caught on the beach facing side, meaning they're already roamed around on the inside of the net. If you put the shark nets in, all these protected species are going to die. That's a guarantee, says Ryan Daly, a senior scientist at South Africa's Oceanic Research Institute. Are people going to die from a shark attack? I don't know. There's no sign that standoffs over South Africa's first new shark net in 2 decades will delay the resort's planning opening in July, but the clock is ticking. The installation of the net is waiting on a full environmental impact assessment. As the debate drags out, the publicity is tarnishing Club Men's eco credentials and could make it increasingly hard to sell the resort, which also offers safaris as a dream destination to potential guests. Still, the goal is to avoid comparisons to another popular resort town, the fictional Amity Island, where the mayor decided to open the beaches against the advice of Police Chief Brody in the classic shark film Jaws. Internally, there are always extensive discussions to ensure we strike the right balance between ensuring the highest standard of guest safety and minimizing impact on marine ecosystems, Club Med says. Intense fear surrounding shark attacks along South Africa's Indian Ocean coast harks back decades. The Zawa Zulu Natural Shark Boards, whose mandate is to protect swimmers from attack, say nets have helped significantly reduce fatal encounters since the 1950s, when a spate of attacks devastated local tourism. But for some, the cost of reassuring swimmers is just too much. It's silly to go to these lengths and damage the environment for no qualitative risk, says Grant Smith, the managing director of the Shark Life Conservation Group in Sodwana Bay, South Africa. On a recent morning, two surfers bobbed up and down on their boards directly in front of the new Club Med. For decades, the beach has been used by locals for surfing and as the launch site for the Ski Boat Club, but it's rarely busy and the water's often too rough to swim safely. There's people who swim and surf at the beach currently, said Daly, who lives nearby. Where is the evidence that it's a risk for bathers to use the ocean? Daly monitors as a receiver that tracks tagged sharks in the blue waters just off the beach. He recorded 75 sharks from 16 species passing by more than 7,500 times over the past 8 years, including bull sharks, considered the most aggressive species. John Van Ruin regularly surfs and spears fishes at the Tinley Manor Beach, about 2 miles from where he lives. The Ski Boat Club secretary wants the resort to be a success. It could bring additional jobs to the area and lift local businesses. But humans are going to have to get used to what's in the water. There are sharks. It's their environment, says Van Ruin, 50. He doesn't necessarily mean they're going to attack you. Shark nets do more harm than anything else. Scientists say there are ways Club Med could encourage guests to adjust their behavior in order to avoid a shark attack. Among the recommendations, tell bathers to avoid reflective jewelry that might catch the attention of a shark, and to get out of the ocean when big schools of fish that a shark could be chasing enter the area. Also, no swimming at dusk and at nighttime. Another low-tech solution used successfully in nearby Cape Town is to position spotters akin to lifeguards to look out for sharks. Some beaches use drones to assist. One scientist suggested handing out electromagnetic bracelets designed to deter attacks with towels at the Club Med beach. The idea that the more sharks we kill, the less sharks encounter we're going to see is a very, very archaic approach, says Sarah Androtti, a marine biologist and lecturer at the Stellenbosch University in South Africa. She helped design the Shark Safe Barrier System, which she pitched to the developer of the Club Med Resort and has been installed in two beaches in the Bahamas. Made from recycled plastic and ceramic magnets, it's designed to mimic a dense kelp forest, which is a natural barrier for sharks. Many locals who are used to coexisting with the sharks thinks it's a big hullabaloo too. The shark net, to be honest, in my opinion, is pointless, says Ron Reynolds, 41, who works in oil and gas and lives about a mile from the Club Med beach. I don't think they provide any migration against the shark attack. I don't believe they serve any constructive purpose. From the Rumble Seat by Dan Neal, a Chevy EV that's funky and fast. The Blazer EV SS, a performance version of Chevy's all-electric crossover, is a little odd-looking and super speedy, of course, by Dan Neal. Dear GM, frankly, I'm concerned. How could you let the Chevy Blazer EV SS, the performance version of the electrified five-seat crossover, leave the house looking so crazy? Is that grill supposed to be ironic? Is this a hostage situation? Blink twice if you're being held by Midwesterners. I understand the need for a distinctive look to set the electrified Blazer apart from vehicles sharing the same platform. Those include the Honda Prologue and the Acura ZDX as the result of joint ventures with Honda, several Cadillacs, and a sibling such as the Chevy Equinox EV. It also has to stand apart from Chevy's family of gas-powered Blazers. But this doesn't explain the SS overworked front clip with layers of grill work stacked like black plastic pancakes. And what about those jazzy plastic stripes framing the gloss black crossbar? Be honest, you know those look terrible. Have you talked to your mother lately? Introduced for model year 2024, Chevy's electrified Blazer comes in three flavors. The LT, starting at $44,700, with a single front motor and 312 miles of estimated range. The RS, which is $50,500 trim, adding comfort to the LT's thrift, and the SS, equipped with front and rear motors producing a combined 650 horsepower and a face like a waffle iron. I typically don't vent on styling, on the grounds that everything has to look like something. Vehicles design is subject to a host of requirements and regulations that constrain designers' options. What's left has to be approved by the company's accountants and suppliers and signed off by the executive core. Few flowers grow from this poisoned soil. Still, the SS excesses have something to teach us. Consider the overbalance of gloss black surfaces, not just the grill form, but the roof racks, roof pillars, bumpers, mirror caps, rear diffusers thingy, deep tinted rear glass, and heavy window masking. In my opinion, there is a maximum ratio of black reflective surfaces to bodywork, beyond which your car starts to look like a bass boat. The exterior's focal points are the recessed areas, coves in the jargon of early Corvettes, aft the front wheel arches set off with J-shaped accents that reach across the door's shut line. These do nothing and go nowhere visually. Aesthetics aside, I wish the charging port was not hidden in the left side cove. The panel pivots down on four hinged arms, but not out of the way. The arrangement makes the mechanism vulnerable to damage from mishaps with the charging plug and heavy cabling. Reading from nose to tail, these coves generate the fluid character lines along the door that bend towards each other per Bologna. Again, I feel nothing. Along the bottom of the doors, the composite rocker panels terminate with small winglets. You're telling me engineers are chasing fractional gains in aero drag around the wheel wells with the grill hanging in the breeze? It's an electric car. It doesn't even need a grill. No questions, the SS curates truly mental acceleration, engaging the wow subline, wide open watts, grants unrestricted access to all the lightning as well as enabling launch control. On a prepared track, Chevy says the Blazer SS hits 60 miles per hour in 3.4 seconds. Last summer, car and driver cracked off a quarter-mile time of 11.8 seconds for a vehicle just shy of 3 tons. That's a nice pass. But in the real world, engaged in the daily tedium of commuting, the SS straight line superlatives amount to little. And while the SS has a pretty fair chassis under it, aluminum upper and lower front links, multi-link rear with passive monotube dampers and anti-roll bars. Most of its cornering stability comes from its low center of mass and superabundance of rubber. Our test car sported the optional performance package, which sells for about $395, bundling together the 22-inch self-sealing summer tires and upgraded brakes. The regenerative braking thresholds are adjusted by ways of a paddle shifter on the back of the steering wheel. I executed a couple of full power stops from highway speeds, tires chirping, brake pedaling chattering, and our SS slowed up, hard, straight, and true. Considering the momentum being arrested, the brake performance was superb. Yet I struggle with the notion that the SS has a dual identity as daily driver and weekend toy. Ergo, I can't see how the SS badge justifies the performance premium. At $64,480 as tested, the SS is about $14,000 away from being a good deal, but with depreciation, maybe next year. Ours arrived wearing a satisfied dark red exterior finish, like a claret, with a interior wrapped in a specially luted shade of red and black pleather, the color scheme of your mom's naughty nightie. Considering the price point, this interior has some explaining to do. The premium pattern profiled faux leather seating surface aren't all that premium. The seams in the seat jackets of our testers were puckered and imperfect. The front seats themselves were kind of uncomfortable, broad and flat with almost no side or bottom bolstering and also strangely over firm. 5 eyeball-style air vents with illuminating bezels and metallic accents are arrayed across the dash. These devices look cool but feel pretty delicate in use, not to say cheap. Below knee level, the cabin materials get awfully budgety. Deserving special scorn are the injected molded plastic skirts biting into the bottom of the seat cushion. To the good, the car's touchscreen interface is lag-free and feature-rich with loads of connectivity, info entertainment, and vehicle personalization features. What color do you want your ambient cabin light, hon? Among the very not good, GM products no longer support Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You can just imagine what a selling point that is. Oh dear. And what happens if some punk in the next lane sees the SS badge and wants to have a go? You'll have to hurriedly drill down to the drive mode menu and find the WOW icon, which you can tap to engage full power. It's not all spontaneous. Sure, you'll win, but you'll win ugly. The base price for the Chevy Blazer EVSS is $60,700. The price tested with this car and Dan Neal was $64,480. And it went from 0 to 60 at 3.4 seconds, and the range is about 302 miles. You are listening to the reading of articles and features from Off Duty from the Wall Street Journal on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Heard on Wall Street, golf is now cooler and younger. The stock market has noticed. Sport is winning over the next generation, opening up a bigger potential market. And this is by Jinjo Lee. Golf is becoming younger and more accessible. That gives this latest boom more staying power than the Tiger Woods wave of the late 1990s. The sport gained a lot of new participants in 2020 because it was the perfectly socially distant activity. Unlike other pandemic fads such as recreational vehicles, interest in golf has kept growing. Rounds played in the U.S. rose 14% in 2020 and have increased almost every year since then, according to Synchrona, a research firm. Through April, rounds played were up 5.3% compared with the same period a year earlier. Growth was more sluggish pre-pandemic. Rounds played declined 4.8 in 2018 and rose 1.5 in 2019. Golf equipment has been one of the strongest sale performers among the sport categories that has been tracked, according to Matt Tucker, executive director of the sports equipment business. This has translated into a windfall for some companies. Shares of the holdings, the owner of the golf ball maker Titleist, have nearly tripled over the past 6 years, well outpacing the S&P 500. Callaway Golf hasn't fared as well, largely because of its acquisition of the golf entertainment venue operator Topgolf, a deal that added substantial debt to its balance sheet and dragged down its performance. While golf entertainment is a growing industry, sector observers think of it as a hospitality business that needs experienced hands. Callaway shares have gained about 50% since its last year that would sell its majority stake in Topgolf to focus on core business. Helping drive golf's popularity is its growing accessibility outside of golf courses. Today, the number of golf entertainment venues, including Topgolf and Five Iron, has increased 80% since 2019, according to the National Golf Foundation. The number of commercial golf simulator locations has roughly doubled in the past 3 years. Golf simulator technology has made the sport less frustrating for beginners because it gives instant feedback on their swings, said Greg Miller, an equity analyst at Truist Securities. As a result, golf participation off the course has surged 63% compared with 2019, according to the National Golf Foundation, that it's widening the pool of participants. Off course golfers tend to be younger and include more women and people of color than on course participants, says Gray Nathan, chief executive of the National Golf Foundation. Golf's relative affordability might help explain its lasting growth compared with some other activities that became more popular during the pandemic, according to Miller, who covers stocks in the leisures and lodging industry. Instead of paying $500,000 for a boat or a lot of expenses related to RVing, golf is reasonably priced, he said. Social media is helping to broaden its reach. In the past, most non-golfers exposed to golf was watching the PGA Tour, which wasn't always relatable, according to Nathan. When you watch or engage in golf on social media, you see all different types of people, he says, and generally the content is more focused on fun. On Instagram, some 43 million posts are tagged golf. Young golf influencers, including President Trump's granddaughter, Kai Trump, who has more than 6 million followers across TikTok and Instagram. That social media exposure appears to be rubbing off on the younger generation. Junior participants in golf on courses was 58% higher in 2025 compared with 2019, according to the National Golf Foundation. The share of Gen Z households that spend on golf rose significantly since 2019, the most of all age groups, according to a report from the Bank of America Institute. As young golfers age, they become bigger spenders. There could be more room to grow. About 19 million Americans have only played golf off course, about 40% of all golfers. That's a huge number of golfers waiting in the wings to potentially fill open tee times, Nathan says. On course participation is high by historical standards at 29 million annually, but still not as high as the peak seen during the Tiger boom. Transforming the casual screen golfer into an on course participant hasn't been easy. Despite the surge in off course participation, the number of beginners on golf courses has stayed relatively flat at around 3 million every year since 2020. For investors bullish on golf's future, Callaway might be the more attractive entry point given its lingering discount over its competitor. Its enterprise value is 12.9 times forward earning before interest, tax, depreciation, compared with 14.4 times for Ashnet. While Topgolf left a blemish on the record of Callaway, the company is still a dominant player with the number 2 U.S. market share in both clubs and balls. Following the sale of Topgolf, Callaway has a net cash balance sheet and higher operating margin. Callaway might be better able to capture the beginners market because it sells a wider price range of products, including affordable golf sets. Sales of complete golf club sets, a proxy for equipment used by beginners, rose 31% between 2021 and 2025, according to Tucker. Ashnet's title is focused on pricier, performance-focused clubs with the benefit of a sticky, high-spending customer base. Consolidation during club golf's lean years have given rise to a healthier industry with fewer big players. While the golf equipment market is more fragmented, there are fewer top players. Nike quit the golf equipment business in 2016. Adidas sold TaylorMade and some of its other golf brands to private equity in 2017. The retailer and equipment maker Golfsmith was acquired by Dick's Sporting Goods after going bankrupt in 2016. Golf's break out of its stuffy country club reputation should help the industry play the long game. From the design page, why pet owners are splurging on animal friendly interior design. Pampering has reached new extremes in the architecture. Homes featuring marble puppy spas, cat hideaways, and dens built especially for Fido. And this is by Ati Shama. Four-legged residents might be the hottest clients in interior design, thanks to a trend known as architecture. The term once referred to an elaborate dog houses, but in recent years has been used to describe how some homeowners are going beyond buying elaborate kennels or cat castles and instead weaving animals' needs into the bones of a home. Think cat climbing walls, cozy dog dens, and puppy spas with better finishes than some powder rooms. The pets may not hold the deed, but both here and abroad, it's an increasingly shaping the floor plan. My dog is like family, so it was all about giving him his own thoughtful place in the home, says Sarah, the founding director of home development company Wild Orchid Spaces. She recently installed a spa like wash station for her Cavalier King Charles Spaniel Poodle Cross, a cavoodle, in her laundry room in Australia. In 2025, some 53 million homes in the U.S. had cats, and some 71 million, or 53% of households, had dogs, according to the American Pet Products Association. All those paws are creating demand for specialized pet spaces, according to Pete Scott, APPA's president and CEO. What we're seeing is not just functional upgrades, but a clear shift towards design forward integration, he says. Pet friendly features can introduce surprisingly aesthetic moments, make a home feel more personal, according to Amanda Pendleton, Zillow's home trends expert, may increase a property's resale value. Here are some projects that could serve as inspiration. Grooming stations. At Lauren Sullivan's home in Tennessee, her Shih Tzu Watson gets regular baths in a checkerboard marble grooming station, complete with bathtub and shower head. Two paw print tiles add a cheeky wink. Sullivan, the founder of Well by Design, an online interior resort and antique shop, developed this wash station and the rest of the house with New Canaan, Connecticut-based architectural firm Brooks and Felico. Marble was chosen because it's a hard-wearing material that's been used for centuries, says Sullivan. Perry Oaken also used marble in her case Carrara for her Cavoodle's wash station in Australia. Such projects can start at about $1,500, whose space includes features from the English tapware company, a handheld shower, and a built-in bath. Dog dens. Look around your home. The perfect dog den may be hiding in plain sight. For Esko Ichi, a design lead at Bunch Design in Los Angeles, that spot was an unused cabinet space beneath the kitchen counter in the home of clients Shiruku's team cut a dog-sized archway into the cabinet, turning the cavity into a hideaway for Coco, the couple's terrier poodle mix. It was a way to allow the dog to watch the family activity from his bed. Since the den was carved out of the cabinet, the transformation did not add much to the overall cost. In general, expect to pay upward of $1,000 for the labor involved in such a retrofit. For a recent project in Seattle, Jeff Pelletier, the founder of the design firm Broad and Vellum, turned a dead space beside a chair landing into a nook for the client's Wheaton Terrier mix by cutting an archway in the wall and adding drywall finishing. For dogs prone to scratching or chewing, Pelletier recommends tile or painted metal finishes, which could add several $1,000s to a project's cost. Catwalks. Tan's home in Kamura, Japan was designed to accommodate several felines, a Scottish foal named Alto, a munchkin called Mise, and a rescue cat. Tan, an architect who runs a namesake firm, built a spiral staircase in the center of the home. The steps provide the cats with spots to climb, perch, and scratch. The height of each step is lower than usual to match feline proportions. Tan used local, unfinished Tomo wood for the staircase. It avoids exposing cats to the coatings or solvents of finished wood. Additionally, he said, their surface can be sanded down and restored to its original state at any time, even after the cats have left their claw marks on it. Personally, we find the scratch marks very endearing. Tam estimated that building a staircase like the one in his home could cost in the ballpark of $70,000. My home was intended as a prototype, said Tan, who is hoping his approach will influence other pet parents. Among younger generations, it's common for couples to choose animals over children. Alexander Barker, founder of the design firm Architect Office in Brooklyn, New York, says that pets are increasingly shaping homeowners' architectural desires in New York City, particularly for clients who may be delaying or foregoing having children. Barker recently designed a home with custom cat nooks built above a full height bookshelf, part playground, part very fancy perch for judging humans. From the homes page, Lake Tahoe's Nevada shore becomes a billionaire magnet. Plus, beach homeowners opt for darker, moodier interiors and a trip to Maine's most expensive zip code. And this is by Carrie Barger. Florida seems to be all the attention as a tax haven, especially among wealthy Californians fleeing the state's proposed wealth tax. But Nevada is starting to rival the Sunshine State as a destination for deep pocket buyers. We're seeing this play out on the Nevada side of Lake Tahoe, which has experienced a surge in demand and a string of mega deals. Much of the action is being driven by the fact that Nevada doesn't have corporate, individual income, or capital gains taxes. Ironically, E.B. Salmet writes the wealthiest Nevada home buyers may be saving money on their taxes, but they could be paying at least twice as much for real estate. In the Tahoe area, Nevada homes typically carry a roughly 20% premium over similarly priced California properties, says real estate broker Bill Diaz, and the delta is far wider for the pricier homes. A $20 million property on the California side will be $40 million to $50 million on the Nevada side, and that's how dramatic the spread is, he says. When you think about a beach house, what comes to mind? Breezy blues, some palm prints, and maybe an anchor or two on the wall? Well, not anymore. Waterfront homes are using colors like deep ocean navy, the slate gray of stormy seas, or the dark brown of old ship planks. People are tired of the grays, anchors, and oars, says Debbie Henry, a real estate agent with Living Down South Realty in Hartwell, Georgia, who focuses on lakeside homes. Finally, we visit Kennebunkport, the most expensive zip code in Maine. Some properties in the coastal community have seen price jumps of more than 100% in recent years, says real estate agent Bill Gaynor. California's tax-weary billionaires seek refuge on Lake Tahoe's Nevada shore. The proposed wealth tax has the super wealthy paying a premium for homes across the state line. The beach house is getting a dark, moody makeover. The coastal homeowners are trading seaside cliches for bold interiors with darker tones. This charming New England town has Maine's most expensive homes. Kennebunkport's grand sea captain homes and single shingle style properties continue to rise in value. What's the deal? The sprawling 36,769 square foot home known as Curtinton Park House has been listed for £12 million, or about $16.35 million. Over the past 8 years, the owners have restored the 18th century estate to its former grandeur. Cosmetic billionaire William P. Lauder has sold in a Manhattan co-op for $21.25 million, a $3.7 million loss from when he bought it 3 years ago. A waterfront compound on Lake Tahoe is hitting the market for $18 million. The Nevada property is completely off-grid, relying on solar and generated power, electricity, and water from the lake. The luxury life. A growing faction of affluent older New Yorkers have relocated during the pandemic are buying mezzanines, second properties back home to keep them connected to their medical specialists. Four Seasons actor Carrie Kenny Silver remembers meeting Michael Ian Black on her first day at NYU. Michael said, "This may sound like an insult, but I mean it as a compliment. You look like a Muppet. We have become best friends." I'm not sure why that is part of the reading. Vote for the Wall Street Journal Home of the Month. Will Wall Street Journal's Home of the Month for May be the Hollywood Hills home of award-winning artist, a 100-year-old property in the Los Angeles suburb, and America's Next Top Model hosts Connecticut estate, or a shell-shaped house in the Arizona desert? You can go online and cast your vote. For some updates, New York State lawmakers approved a tax on luxury second homes in New York City after months of urging by Mayor Zoran Mandani. U.S. home price growth slowed slightly in March as higher mortgage rates intensified the affordability squeeze among home buyers. A stark inventory mismatch is revealing housing markets across the country, but areas like Denver and Honolulu are showing improvement. From the fashion page, swimwear to go from the boss's boat to a kid's pool party. Summer days often come with mixed company. Here's how to build out a swim wardrobe so you can dress confidently in any scenario under the sun. And this is by Katie Kelly. Going on a beach vacation with extended family? Invited on your boss's boat? Sometimes getting dressed for a day on the water requires more thought and more packing beyond a good book and sunscreen. From swimsuits to cover-ups to accessories, here are suggestions for beefing up a summer wardrobe so you can dress for most any aquatic occasion. When you're on the boss's yacht. If your boss hosts your team on a boat ride, or if you think you'll run into coworkers at the beach, it's best to avoid a risque two-piece. A one-shoulder swimsuit with medium coverage reads more professional, and drawstring pants are breezy and chic. When it's your first full day in the sun. After spending months mostly indoors, a full day under the sun can be harsh on the skin. With a wide brim hat, a full coverage caftan, and sunscreen, you'll be appropriately covered for your first beach trip of the season. When you're vacationing with your in-laws, a one-piece swimsuit is a classic in a classic gingham print will delight your mother-in-law with its retro charm. Fisherman's sandals, cat-eye glasses, and a cheerful and sun-blocking headscarf are fashionable and functioning finishing touches. When you're with the kids and their friends, impress the moms by incorporating sporty elements like rubber flip-flops, wraparound sunglasses, and nylon pants. Full coverage swim shorts are more suitable than a bikini bottom for chasing around your children. You've been listening to the reading of articles and features from Saturday, Sunday, May 30th, 31st issue of Off Duty from the Wall Street Journal. We read from Off Duty every Saturday now at 8 p.m. Your reader has been Patricia Mary. Thank you for listening. God bless and be safe out there. And remember your sunscreen.
Coming up next on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have Sports Illustrated. At 10 o'clock is The Athletic, and at 11 o'clock is episode number 15 of King Sorrow by Joe Hill. Stay with us for these readings and more. The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability, which makes reading, holding